And so locked in. These matches, you can see it on his face.
Against opposing Charizards, opposing Aerodactyls as well. Kingambit is going to be a real important.
And with two teams that have so many similarities heading into the match, where these trainers' minds are at, let's make some noise, everybody. It's time to get started here with our Masters Finals. Francesco Pio Pero going up against Eric Rios, and the lead right away, Aerodactyl and Sylveon. Aerodactyl on the opposing end as well, next to Kingambit.
Yeah, the Aerodactyls coming out as the form of choice for both trainers. Do they both lock into this tailwind? You want to keep pace with each other. The one advantage Francesco has it, they do have a way to prevent the rock slide threat on Eric's side, but you've got to expect here you spend a turn setting that tailwind to keep pace with your opponent, so maybe the Aerodactyls are going to be tied up here. But also, if you do that, you could maybe sneak in a rock slide to get some advantage onto your opponent. If you suspect that you could go down and maybe a different form of speed control, like Eric has got that Fergraph if he's brought it, Trick Room in the back. But the Sylveon needs to be careful. If it sits on the field, it might be able to get a Hyper Voice off, depends on how it's been trained, but it is threatened heavily by that Kingambit and that Iron Head.
It's not going to be a swap, though. Instead, Mega Evolution right away with this Aerodactyl. Of course, we can go on the offensive. We can try and just set up that speed control. Have to see how they want to be going ahead and playing. That's, of course, another Mega Evolution coming on out. And, of course, you want to try and get this pressure off, but if you can delay Tailwind by maybe one turn and kind of stagger them, that can maybe be an advantage for these trainers. No Tailwind for either. Rock Slide right away. So much damage going on to Eric's side of the board. The follow-up, the retaliation, we will get a Tailwind from Eric. So Eric has the speed for now, but if Francesco sets it up on the next turn, it might be dangerous. But a Sylveon, the Hyper Beam, we are going for maximum damage to be starting this one out, and that's enough for the KO on Kingambit.
That's a huge turn from Eric, and what a lead, going for that Tailwind and saying, if you don't go for it, I'm going to punish it, and going for the Hyper Beam. Guaranteed knockout onto that Kingambit, taking a huge lead here. The Sylveon is going to have to take a turn to charge this next turn, but what a trade-off from Eric in this first turn. Got the speed advantage as well with that Tailwind.
Especially called out, this Kingambit could have been something that pressured so much onto Eric's end of the board. And with that gone, on the very first turn of the match, sure, you have your own Sylveon to try and pressure out onto the board, but there's a lot of momentum to make up.
Yeah, and the problem that Francesco has, did they go for the Tailwind here? Well, if you go for that, you're susceptible to a rock slide from the opposing Aerodactyl on Eric's end, so it's a really difficult one. Do you lock into the wide guard for that protection? It's exactly what we see.
Those spread damage attacks are going to be hitting into Francesco, so Rock Slide is going to be null and void. Both of these Pokemon will stay safe. Great way to make sure you're not taking damage and can leverage your own. Hyper Voice in retaliation is enough to drop the Aerodactyl.
Yeah, it's a really nice response from Francesco to get rid of the Mega on Eric's side. Protection, it does burn the turn for Eric, but they have taken a cost for that, losing a Pokemon and taking a lot of damage on the Sylveon. But you've got to remember, they've got the speed advantage now after that Tailwind setup. Kingambit coming into a prime place, and it has got that Focus Sash, so an extra layer of protection, putting a lot of pressure onto the Aerodactyl and the Sylveon, particularly with that huge Iron Head threat that both Pokemon on Francesco's do not want to see. Need to readjust here because everything feels like it's in a really awkward spot.
And that's kind of the tricky part. Of course, we do get a lot of health, full health, for both of the Pokemon over on Francesco's end, but not having that speed and just that amount of damage output that can happen. Are you forced kind of to go for that Tailwind now and maybe kind of set yourself up for the late game and Sylveon now for success?
Yeah, it will depend on how fast this Kingambit is, because Aerodactyl, when it Mega Evolves, it obviously gets an additional speed boost. But does the Kingambit have enough speed on Eric's side to supersede that? It looks like it doesn't. This is really key for Francesco to get back into this game.
So now both trainers Tailwind up, but Iron Head from the opposing end into Sylveon, enough to take the KO and take another piece of the puzzle away from Francesco with that one-hit KO. And sure, there's some speed, but another Hyper Beam coming out from Sylveon. We're going for all of the damage and enough for a double KO on this turn.
Wow, what attack by Eric. Not wanting to go for the Hyper Voice that you think would be safer. You don't need to spend a turn of recharge, but saying, no, if I get the opportunity to attack, I'm gonna attack. Some really useful information there, knowing that the Kingambit actually went after the Sylveon on Francesco, so good information going into game 2. Francesco not quite out of it here, because the Sylveon is going to be susceptible to going down to an Earthquake here. Kingambit going to be outsped by this Garchomp, and both Pokemon looking like they'll take heavy damage from this Earthquake.
there's still a lot of momentum. This Garchomp has to be making up, though. So Earthquake, the first one, so much damage into the King Gambit, and of course, Sylveon goes down. How much damage is King Gambit going to do in return, though, to try and take away the final Pokemon? Kowtow Cleave into Garchomp, bringing down to exactly half.
Yeah, and that is some nice damage, but the Tailwind ending on Eric's side of the field, not going to matter too much here because the King Gambit was always going to be slow. Might be quite pivotal for what that remaining Pokemon that Eric has in the back, though. All comes down to this, but taking so much damage so far on Francesco's side, it's looking like a real uphill struggle. The King Gambit has access to that priority Sucker Punch, doesn't really care about the Tailwind in this scenario, and can get some really crucial damage off this next turn. If the Garchomp on Francesco's side it decides to attack, it almost has to. It's pinned here where it needs to claw back some momentum while this Tailwind is in effect.
And it's going to be Garchomp as that final Pokemon coming out from Eric. So something, too, that you're looking at that Earthquake cabbage. I mean, I just don't think this Garchomp for Francesco has enough of the tank.
No, and it feels like one Dragon Claw from Eric is going to be enough to take down this Garchomp here on Francesco's side. So it looks like it might be wrapped up pretty soon, even though they have the advantage with that speed control right now. Might have come a couple of turns too late.
Dragon Claw into the Garchomp, a third of its health remaining, but of course you needed to get a KO to try and make any momentum back. It will get a little bit of health recovery, so we are back to over half, but in retaliation, Dragon Claw will pick up the KO. Eric Rios 1 game away from becoming champion, and such a commanding start, a statement, closer at the end, but wow, just damage, damage, damage.
They don't take advantage of that Tailwind so easily.
Down one in the set. Francesco has to switch it up to try and make it into a game number 3. Heading into the leads, Eric, Aerodactyl, and King Gambit on the opposing end. We're gonna have a mirrored face-off.
Yeah, we've got match and snap here. Both players have the ability to set up their Tailwinds. It's probably a great idea to do that, but then it opens the door up for these King Gambits. Do they go after each other, targeting with low kick? Well, if you're Eric going into Francesco's, you're going to proc and activate that Chopper Berry, so you're probably not getting as much mileage there. The Iron Head feels a little bit better into the Aerodactyl, try and remove that. And then where does Francesco go with their King Gambit? Do they go for the Aerodactyl as well, remove that threat, or do they go after the King Gambit that is Focus Sash on Eric's side? And then that could be a key piece. If you get it down to 1 HP, you could maybe go for the Sucker Punch the next turn to try and get around it. But again, if you're in Sucker Punch mind games after this turn, it's all going to come down to those speeds, and we've already seen Eric's King Gambit is a pretty speedy one.
Well, going into this one, no swaps. We're going to play this one out how it is with Mega Evolution coming on out. Of course, when we see the Mega Aerodactyl on the field, you have to imagine you want the most mileage, but only one Mega Evolution, but it's going to be a Rock Slide. So much damage out to make sure that you're bringing it down to just a bit of health. Follow-up Tailwind from Eric, so he will have the speed, but does he have the damage with his own King Gambit? No! The flinch! No damage coming on out, and it's going to be a low kick to take it down.
Yeah, this is a huge turn for Francesco, going for that Rock Slide, fishing for the flinching, getting it, all important, breaking that Focus Sash on the opposing King Gambit, and then following through with that low kick. Really well played here. Now, Eric hasn't went for their Mega Evolution on the Aerodactyl, so does that maybe sign that there could be a Charizard lurking in the back? Well, if there is, you need to prioritize taking down this Aerodactyl. That is going to threaten it so much if it does enter the field.
Well, Aerodactyl from Eric will leave, as instead Garchomp is going to join the fray. Sucker Punch attempt, but it will fail, as of course there was that swap, as Francesco needs to leverage his own speed, match that Tailwind.
Yeah, now in that position where the Hyper Voice, not the Hyper Beam coming out, getting some valuable damage onto the field. Critical hit onto the King Gambit, really unfortunate, but a nice switch into the Garchomp, because now you've got the ability to threaten, at least with the Dragon Claw, onto the Aerodactyl, and also maybe the Stomping Tantrum into the King Gambit as well. But the Aerodactyl's still in prime position where it is going to be able to throw out another Rock Slide. It is going to be faster than everything else now under this Tailwind on Eric's side.
And I mean, this Aerodactyl just does so much damage, and you already got to see how much momentum that Francesco gets with just a single flinch. So having this Pokemon oh so speedy, I mean, things can really quickly fall out of favor here for Eric.
Yeah, this is the problem, I think, and taking so much damage on the Aerodactyl as well. It's not going to come in fresh later in this game, so you've got to really make the most out of these Pokemon. Sucker Punch doing some nice damage there, but is the dual wing going to be? No, it's onto the Garchomp, into that Sylveon. It will be good damage, but both Pokemon on Eric's side going to be able to retaliate now. Are they able to pick up key knockouts?
That's going to be the thing. We're doing damage from Francesco, but in return, it's going to be Eric to take a KO onto this King Gambit. So it could have been a turn of really, really big damage and potentially a KO, but not quite going to be there. And one Pokemon down means it'll actually be a Sylveon to follow up. So Francesco, when that damage isn't there, you lost 2 Pokemon. Where do you go?
Well, it all comes down to the 2 Pokemon remaining for Francesco. If one of them is the Sylveon, it's going to be coming in pretty good position here, and there it is. It's going to have that Hyper Voice, and it will be threatening big damage, potentially a knockout onto the Garchomp, and then even a close one onto that Sylveon, especially when you combine it with the Garchomp here that Francesco's brought in so healthy, and it will be able to outspeed the potential of the opposing Sylveon as well and get an attack off before it can attack it.
Going on into this, Francesco, 2 Pokemon remain on his side to try and get away into this match to take it into an all-important game number 3. Detect from Eric. Make sure that his Sylveon will survive through the turn. As a Rock Tomb, it's going to be attempting into it, so nothing will happen there. Follow-up Earthquake. Sylveon for Eric will stay safe, but we're looking for big damage over on the opposing end of the board. Both Pokemon at about half of their health. But now we get the Hyper Voice in return. And of course, a Pokemon like Garchomp is not going to appreciate this one at all.
No, and that's a big knockout here. It's going to critical hit. You would imagine most scenarios that Garchomp is able to take a Hyper Voice, but again, it comes down to the training. More importantly, Francesco picking out the opportunity there to take down that threat. Now it's forcing out the Aerodactyl onto the field. Eric's in that spot. It does have Ice Fang. That is one of the things. It's going to be able to pressure the opposing Garchomp. But if you're going after the Garchomp, have you got enough health to be able to take anything from the Sylveon? I would suggest not. So, you know, Eric hasn't got access to what I got either to prevent that Hyper Voice threat. So you're in a real bind. You have to, are you forced to go for the Rock Slide here with the Aerodactyl? You're not on the best spots. And Francesco really adjusting well in this game too.
Going into this, it's going to be an Aerodactyl with that Mega Evolution finally pressed within this match. Time to find out. It will be a Dragon Claw into it instead. So Aerodactyl, having already taken so much damage on that first turn, cannot withstand that hit. Follow-up Hyper Voice, single target damage will take the opposing Sylveon down. And that is going to tie up this series. Francesco Pio Pero with the win. We're going to a game 3.
Yeah, great adjustment here from Francesco saying, I'm not done yet. Let's get this party started. We're going to get with the Rock Gambit lead there, going for the Sucker Punch early on. Although you might not get any damage because of Tailwinds, at least you're covering that potential Rock Slide and getting some value for it as well.
One final game between these 2 top trainers getting into it. Again, with the Sylveon and Aerodactyl, going up against Aerodactyl and King Gambit for Francesco.
Now you've got that Sylveon back in play here. We saw how strong that was in game 1 with that Hyper Beam. It is going to threaten a knockout onto the King Gambit. If Eric can go for that speed control with the Tailwind, get that first, get the Sylveon in a position where it can fire that off into the King Gambit. But the worry is if you don't, and the Tailwind goes first on Francesco's side, that King Gambit will then get the jump on the Sylveon, and we know that the Iron Head will probably likely pick up a knockout on that. So it all comes down to which Aerodactyl goes first, which one decides to go for the Tailwind, get that speed control in effect.
With that game 1, Francesco cannot afford to let this Sylveon run through his team. Getting into it, of course, his first turn, we'll see both of these Aerodactyls go for that Mega Evolution. Both so speedy, it's time to see which one is going to be faster and who can set that momentum. No Tailwind from either. It's actually going to be a Rock Slide, and a Rock Slide miss onto the opposing Aerodactyl. Sylveon will take a punch of damage here, but it's going to be the follow-up. Thornton, and okay, with Eric going for the Tailwind, actually, now Sylveon.
Oh, the huge flinch.
It's the flinch coming on out, so Sylveon cannot deal that big amount of damage, and instead goes down on this turn.
Yeah, that's really unfortunate for Eric there. Great for Francesco because taking a big lead in this game here, going for that Rock Slide turn 1 once again. Fortunately misses the Aerodactyl, but more importantly that flinch, stopping the Sylveon in its tracks and then allowing the King Gambit to close up and knock it out.
That is such a significant KO to be leading off this match. Where does Eric go from here? Garchomp onto the field is definitely a way to start getting some damage down into this King Gambit, but speed, but can you maybe go for your own Rock Slide flinches and maybe try and find it that way?
I think you've got to go for your own Rock Slides here to kind of check that Aerodactyl, because you could potentially go for Ice Fang and then double into it with the Garchomp, but then you're leaving the King Gambit unchecked. I think the Rock Slide's the best option here, but there is the Wide Guard. You've got to consider that. That could be thrown out, especially if Francesco suspects the Rock Slide, the Earthquake combination. So it does make life and decisions harder for Eric in this moment.
All right, a swap out Aerodactyl for Eric is gone. Stomping Tantrum into King Gambit on Francesco's end takes a lot of damage, as this is where we're going to see the tailwind match. Of course, staggered one, Francesco will have a little bit of that speed going on further into the match. Low kick into the opposing end, though. So much damage, and will bring King Gambit down to its focus sash.
Yeah, what a call here from Francesco, punishing that switch in, and now this King Gambit down to its focus sash, and just in inches of being knocked out and rendered useless once again. This Garchomp on Eric's side as well, it's going to really struggle to damage the Aerodactyl. Its only option is the Dragon Claw, but if you go for that, like we've mentioned, you are ignoring the King Gambit, and I don't think you can afford to do that. So going for that Stomping Tantrum into that slot makes a lot of sense. Get rid of that slot, maybe try and protect your own King Gambit here. Go for that all-important Sucker Punch. You get some valuable damage onto this Aerodactyl.
Sucker Punch and Sucker Punch get damage onto both partners out on the field. Of course, Rough Skin Recoil will bring this King Gambit down lower. Follow up with the Rock Slide, though, will connect into both of the targets, so King Gambit goes down. Only 2 Pokemon left for Eric.
Yeah, now things looking really difficult for Eric after losing that Sylveon so early on. The Dragon Claw, is it going to be enough? It's not enough.
Not enough to try and get the first kill of the match. And now with only 2 Pokemon remaining, Eric has to put a lot of trust in this Aerodactyl. It does have full health, and the health bars on Francesco's end are looking really low, but you gotta get those speed. You gotta have that Rock Slide first.
Yeah, it all comes down to which Aerodactyl goes first. And like we've mentioned before, though, there is the worry about going for Rock Slide if you're Eric and that getting blocked by a potential Wide Guard. That gives the King Gambit an extra turn. I guess you've got the check, though, with the Stomping Tantrum. So if you're Eric, you hope you win the speed tie, you get that Rock Slide, you land it, and then follow up with the Garchomp with that Stomping Tantrum into King Gambit. But you're probably going to have to take a Sucker Punch for your trouble.
So much damage with that Sucker Punch thanks to that critical hit. Now Ice Fang into the opposing Aerodactyl to try and leverage this score. And now with the Garchomp still able to act on this turn, it looks like Eric will be able to even out this Pokemon count. Double KO.
Yeah, I like the Ice Fang a lot, not wanting to get kind of caught with that Wide Guard, going for that single target attack and taking down that big threat. That's huge for Eric here. And now with the Garchomp, the Aerodactyl, they're in a nice position to start hopefully getting back into this game, but they've taken so much damage to get to this stage, whereas Francesco can bring in 2 Pokemon, 2 powerhouses as well that are in a real strong position to start closing this out, and Francesco is inches away.
Francesco has the speed, 2 full health Pokemon, and this has been a trainer that has come so close to claiming first place titles in the past. He is hailed as one of the stronger trainers out there, and a title within reach. Sylveon first, that's going to be an attack. The double up, Aerodactyl goes down. This is so close for Francesco to get his first title. But Earthquake, in return, how much is it going to do? Not nearly enough.
Nowhere near enough, and Francesco still got their the Citrus Berry intact as well. And also, where does the Garchomp go? You've got to go for the Earthquake and hope you pick up a knockout on these 2 targets. If you're Eric, I don't know if it's going to be enough after that initial damage that we've seen. Going to need some big rolls.
Earthquake coming out from Garchomp, not nearly enough damage. Both of the Pokemon for Francesco hold on. And with that, the retaliation, Dragon Claw into the Garchomp. Francesco Pio Pero is your 2026 North American International Champion. He has come so close in the past, so close to that title, that championship title, and today he's done it.
Amazing from Francesco, been so close so many times, but now able to say I am a champion and claiming this weekend's tournament in such style. Amazing after that game 1, making the comeback and then just closing it out and not giving Eric an inch to claim this title.
What a match, though. What an incredible match.